Hello and welcome to yesterday's Airlines. In this video we're going to be taking a closer look at the 1/400 scale Boeing 747-400 LCF Dreamlifter by jcwings. Now the 747-400 Dreamlifter is a really special 747. Obviously, as you can see looking at the picture, it's got this enormous cargo hold across the top of where the standard fuselage on a 747 usually would be, so you can no longer see the distinctive hump of the 747. And just like Airbus, this aircraft is designed to carry large components for Boeing of their other aircraft in production. In this case, as the name suggests, it's going to be carrying Dreamliner components, mainly from Japan and Italy to the United States, where final assembly is undertaken. So it's just like the Beluga XL for Airbus, but a bigger aeroplane, longer ranged, and a somewhat different style of conversion. So this is going to be a slightly different review than normal, because I'm going to talk a bit about the actual LCF itself and not just about the model, but it's a really exciting model. jcwings are producing some really interesting new molds in 400 scale, and they're of exceptional quality. So let's begin, shall we? Now, actually, before I do begin, I should say, obviously, subscribe to my channel, Yesterday's Airlines, here on YouTube. Like the video if you do enjoy this. Check me out on Instagram at Yesterday Airlines and on Facebook. And also, obviously, check out the site, because there's always tons of new material going up on the website, on my other channels, talking about 400 scale and what's going on, new releases at model airports and all that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for Yesterday's Airlines. So the Dreamlifter itself. Now, before I actually look at the mold, it's probably worthwhile talking a bit more about what makes this aeroplane unique. Now, firstly, there are 4 of these in existence. Each of them were built from an original passenger 747, which was taken out of service. 2 were China Airlines, one was Air China, one was Malaysia Airlines. They all got the same conversion. Basically, as you can see, you've had this huge new area pushed on and over on top of the standard fuselage. You can see that the aeroplane has a swing tail. So unlike the Beluga XL, where you enter through the nose, here you've got a swing tail which opens. It doesn't open on the model, but it does open on the 200 version, which jcwings have made for Gemini. The other big difference here between this and an ordinary 747, of course, at least a 400 series, is there are no winglets. The winglets are removed because they cause some vibration issues and impacted the handling of the aircraft. So, aside from that, this is pretty much a base 747 with this new cargo hold, a new swing tail, got rid of the winglets, and is that, I guess, a relatively simple conversion compared to what Airbus has done with its Beluga XL. Okay, cool. Now that's over with, let's have a look at this mold itself. So this 747 from jcwings uses the base 747-400 that they now have, and only they have. Gemini has shown no interest in using it thus far. So it's got a completely new 747 mold with the Beluga, sorry, not the Beluga, with the Dreamlifter additions placed on top of that, which is actually quite a difficult feat to achieve. They are not the first, however, to do this. There have been 2 other Dreamlifter molds, one by Dragonwings, one by Hogan. They're both quite old models that date from before 2010. As you can see, this mold has all the latest mod cons. Not only does it have aerials, not only does it have rolling gear, which have individually moving main gear trucks, not only does it have see-through, it's really difficult to see, but it's got hollow fan blades through the engines, but also, of course, it's got jcwings' signature feature nowadays. It's got a flaps down version as well, and this flaps down version is really, really impressive. I mean, this is going to be on the standard 747 releases already. There's been a couple that have come out with it. As you can see, the flaps on a 747 are huge, so they're really, really impressive and really, really nicely done on this model with a lot of really nice detail. And likewise, at the front of the wing, you get these really nicely detailed slats as well, which come down. So there's a huge amount of detail on show, especially on the underside of this model in terms of the mould. It is super detailed. And these are all things which are standard to the new 74700 mould they're using. One of the other criticisms of many of the 747 moulds is the engine wing join. And you can see here it's looking really nice on this. There's no odd squaring here. The modern technology of manufacture has made this into a really, really nice join. In fact, I'm just going to put this up on the stand so you perhaps get a little bit of a better look at the model. So you can see those flaps, you can see that really nice join, you can see the individual fan blades there. You can see the really nice detailed undercarriage. So all the add-ons are spectacular. That's even before you get to the Dreamlifter components of this aeroplane, which themselves are super, super nice. So, looking at the actual aeroplane from the side and comparing this to the real Dreamlifter, I have to say that it's super impressive. The shape of the bulbous fuselage, works really nicely, and works really nicely with the shape of the ordinary 747 here, which is actually itself, super nice too. One of the things I really like is that, and it's hard to see because the model is white, that the step up from the standard 747 to the new hump here is not just a single step. On the real thing, there's actually, you can just about kind of see here, there's a fairing that joins the two here, and there's also this line of, let's see if I can get that in a bit more detail. There's also this line of, I think it's probably strengthening, which is placed on the airframe here to make it, structurally strong enough to hold the new cargo hold. And both of those things are shown really nicely on the mold, really nicely detailed. So you've got to say that they've done a really nice job of those elements. The other thing which is super nice here is the shape of the hinges here. They're not just slabbed on the side, they're at the right angle, and you've even got this nice detailing for where the swing tail hits there. So all the elements that make this the Dreamlifter are super, super good. So overall, I think this mold is really, really impressive. If I've got to criticize things, the only thing I can really think of criticizing is that I do think that the landing gear is perhaps a tad short. I think this is the same for all of these new 747s. I personally would like to see it slightly longer. It reminds me a little bit of the in-flight 200 molds, where I think the landing gear is too short as well, but it's not a major issue. I'm not 110% certain about the exact nose shape here. I need to do a bit more research into that. But overall, I think this mold has done more than enough to get itself a really high score. And if I'm running by my usual review standards, where I score out of 10 for the mold, then I'm going to have to give this a 10 until I, start looking in more detail at the new base mold. But it's a really nice addition. They've done a superb job producing a really unusual aeroplane, which is quite a challenge to make in this scale, I think. So 10 out of 10 for the mold. So the second part of my reviews is usually in relation to the livery. And obviously there isn't much of a livery going on these Dreamlifters. This is as much as they've ever carried. So it's got the big Boeing titles here, it's got the Dreamlifter, it's got this boring kind of blue tail and the engine nacelles. These all look fine, and there's no problems at all with the fonts or anything like that. It's also got, and it's, you just have my take word for it because I don't think I can get the camera to zoom in, but it's also got in very small text down here, operated by Atlas Air Inc., which is the airline which is operating these for Boeing. It used to be Evergreen, but it switched over to Atlas Air 2009, 2010. So I think all the details are here. It feels kind of silly scoring this livery because it's so simple, but you kind of score what's there, and everything is there and in the right place. So it's a 10 out of 10 for the livery, albeit it's possibly the simplest livery I've ever had to score, and pretty hard to really make a mess of. But hey, it's looking good, it's nice, it's really well done. Okay, section number 3 is the printing and the detail, and I found a smaller stand to fit this on so it fits better into the frame of the video. You know, jcwings are setting some really high standards when it comes to printing quality. I mean, they're up there with NG and Panda. There's always a lot going on with the aircraft. You can see, you know, looking up here that you've got some really nice blocked out window detailing here. You've got some really nice printing detail around here as well. As always, the way to really test printing on these models is to not look at the upper fuselage at all, but to venture underneath and say, hey, what's going on with the belly, what's going on with the engines, and you can see down here there's tons of detailing here in terms of, you know, markings on the engine nacelles. There's quite a lot of detailing along here as well, so it's really very nice. Now, one thing there isn't too much detailing on actually is main gear doors here, but aside from that, there's a lot of good detailing going on here, and it's really nicely done, and there's no errors in terms of the print. It's got a lot of quality about it. So I think, you know, that it's very strong. Now, one thing that I'm not sure about are actually the cockpit windows. I have to say that perhaps they're just a little bit too large, or maybe they're just a bit too low and too large. Certainly these front ones just seem to go down a little bit. So I think, you know, maybe some modification there is required. I think I'm going to knock off a point for that, and perhaps also just for the, you know, combine that with the length of the landing gear, which again I think should be slightly longer on these 747s ideally. So, you know, maybe a point knocked off for that aspect, but overall construction quality, even on this very complex model, which is not sitting on a stand straight at all, but never mind, construction quality is really nice. The model's well put together. There's no issues with the flaps, there's no issues with the breakages, they're all really nicely detailed, and the result is that you're getting here a really, really fine model. So we're going to give 9 out of 10 in the printing and quality area. Okay, now before I get on to the summary, I just wanted to highlight what I'm talking about when it comes to the nose gear, and also to perhaps the cockpit windows, or just their placement. And that's, you can see here when compared to this TAP release from Aero Classics. And this is a modern release produced late last year, but using the classic old Big Bird mold, which is a spectacularly good 747. So you can see here really that the Big Bird is sitting higher, quite a little bit higher, and I think it looks much better for it, much more accurate in that regard. So, you know, you could argue there that that's a change. It's an easy change to make, but it's a change that I think does need to be made. In terms of the cockpit windows, again, it's a little hard to say whether it's just because the nose shape isn't quite as nice as on the Big Bird, but they just don't quite seem to be sitting right to me. But I think that increasing the height of the nose gear would solve a lot of my thoughts in that area. And, you know, these are both really nice 747s, but I do think perhaps, you know, the Big Bird swings it slightly in that nose region. So perhaps, you know, I should be knocking off a point for the mould in that area. Yeah, it's a bit harsh, perhaps, especially seeing they put all this extra effort in to make the Dreamlifter, but there we go. So, as a summary, you know, jcwings, they're producing molds like this all the time nowadays. Really unusual molds which are hard to produce. They've got their Beluga XL, they've got their A330 freighter, you know, just like ngmodels and Panda, you know, and Aviation 400. They're trying new things, they're innovative. They've got, you know, they've got the C3 moving blades, they've got flaps down, which is their thing, and no one else has got that. I mean, these are really, really nice features, producing really high quality models like this, which is, you know, getting a score of 29 out of 30 without too much trouble, really. So overall, I think you should be giving jcwings more of a looking. I know they can take a long time to produce the models, but they're producing good quality, really nice models, and quite often jcwings is not getting these new molds or giving these new molds to Gemini. It's hard to say whether Gemini just don't care enough to use them, or whether jcwings is keeping them for themselves, but either way, this is a great example. Gemini have used the Dreamlifter in 200 scale, but not in 400 scale. So if you're going to get one, it's these jcwings ones. They're really, really nice. Okay, guys. Now, thanks very much for watching. As always, Keep an eye out for more material at the site and all my other channels, and I'll see you later on. Bye.